I got to look behind me. It's all right.
We are live though on YouTube as well.
Hi, YouTube.
We gotta be loud for this microphone.
He said with his back to the camera.
We're not advertising for McDonald's.
camera
I don't know if they'll sue us.
Nobody hum any songs that are copyrighted either.
Is that how you say that?
What?
Copyrighted?
Copyrighted.
Copywritten?
I thought it was copywritten.
I think it's copyrighted.
Alright, cool.
Google it.
No,
You're the smart one. That's why I was asking.
not things that are not true.
What is that? Is that a noisy cricket? Oh, no.
Jesus.
Looks
Are
like,
we really going to talk about our vape thing?
dude, you got to be cool. You got to be Vape Nation.
That's a nice
Vape.
vape.
That's a squonk.
Vape Nation, he says.
That's freaking cool.
Pump
Did you literally say Vape Nation?
Vape Nation,
Oh my
baby.
god, I hate you so much right now.
I keep almost doing it inside because we can do it at work in the office. Yeah.
I'm on the show. I didn't do the show, and I'm like,
We're not talking about anything right now, by the way.
I know,
YouTube.
yeah, sorry.
We're talking about things that matter.
that's right.
Squonk life.
Squonk life? Is that what you
It's
said?
a squonk life. It's called squonk box.
Oh shit. They're
You press a
squonking
little
it.
button and it throws the juice up into the RDA.
Yeah. I had to hand wind coils for this bitch.
You know how much that bottle
Doyle
is?
does
It's
like
ridiculous.
getting juice squirted into his mouth.
True. Been a Abbott fan for years.
He's a big fan of getting stuff all over his face, neck, and chest.
What's up, Dom?
What's up?
Not much. Well, he's working.
Is he?
11 o'clock.
Yeah, he's on the clock.
I'm on the clock.
He can stand up though.
I can stand up.
Yeah, he can. That.
I
But
think,
then
I
he's
think I bought
vigilant.
enough comics to buy 5 or 10 minutes of your time today.
Wow.
So we're going to talk about our pop culture classic. Thank you, Jason, for picking it. None of us watched it.
What is it?
That's not
No, it's not true. I watched it like back in the day when it came out. So today we're going to talk about
in 1957.
1988.
That is a fucking long time ago.
1997.
20 years.
21 years.
L.A. Confidential.
That's right, because my son was born.
Directed by Curtis Hanson. Starring Russell Crowe, Guy Pearce, Kim Basinger, Danny DeVito, who I had completely forgotten was in this movie, and
He's
he's
one of the
like
better
the
parts of
best
the movie.
reporter. And of course, Kevin Spacey. Should we call him the late Kevin Spacey since he's never gonna make a movie again?
He'll be back.
I don't know. There's a lot of press on R. Kelly right now, so.
God damn it!
Yeah.
So I got
Spacey's just
I
over
got
there
this
enjoying
amazing
it.
Facebook
Come on,
message
Kelly.
from Juan
Come on, Kelly.
that was like, should I reach out to Kevin Spacey to interview him for this movie? And I immediately responded, yes. And he said, "Yeah, I just wanted to double check because of, what's going on with him." And I said,
I somehow missed what's
said-
going on with Kevin Spacey.
I said, that's exactly why you should reach out to him. He's not doing anything right now. So,
Okay,
look
so
forward
somehow
to-
I've missed
look
what
forward to our
happened.
Kevin Spacey interview.
What Kevin Spacey did?
Kevin Spacey molested.
He's
young
accused. He's accused.
Oh, that's right.
I'm not going to answer.
Was he just whipping out his penis or something in front of him?
I think that was Louis C.K.
Yeah, that was Louis
that
C.K.
just jerked it in front of people without their permission. Hey, watch.
I feel like
So
people
weird.
don't respect things enough. Like Louis C.K. starts jerking my face, I feel like I'm a part of something right now.
You're famous.
Yeah. It's quite funny.
Now I need $1 million. I'm gonna tell
Yes.
everybody.
Even his penis was quite hysterical.
So, I'm looking at the trivia. Sorry. Kim Basinger turned down the role of Lynn Bracken 3 times before saying yes. She was director Curtis Hanson's first and only choice for the role.
It's a bit stalker.
This is based on a James Elroy book. I don't know if anybody else is familiar with his books, but he writes like these really great like crime fiction novels that took place at that point. I want to say, oh my God, why am I having a brain fart? The Quentin Tarantino movie with with Samuel L. Jackson and Robert De Niro as gangsters, and the lady that plays Coffee. What? Oh my God! It's like one of my favorite Quentin Tarantino movies too.
I could tell.
Why can I not remember it? Jesus, I'm tired. But anyway, The Long Kiss Goodnight is based on one of his books. Like there's a ton of crime
should've watched
movies
that.
based on James Elroy's books. So
Have you seen L.A. Confidential, John?
So long ago.
yeah. Guy Pearce did not like.
I remember virtually nothing about it, like when I started watching it. Go ahead.
Guy Pearce didn't like Ed Exley when he first read the screenplay, and he felt the character was overly self-righteous, which he is.
Yeah.
So
Are you awake? What is going on with you right now?
Well, so far I like how nobody in the movie wanted to be involved in the
Like,
movie at
what's-
first. They're like, I don't want
what's
this.
weird is normally I write down like the snippets of trivia in like one thing, and right now I'm scrolling through it on my phone because I forgot to write
You
it down.
can tell.
James Elroy described Kevin Spacey's performance as Jack Vincennes, it's hard to say, as some of the best self-loathing I've ever seen on screen, so that's fun.
Probably has a lot of experience with it.
He wasn't there when he was
Guy
touching that
Pearce-
young boy.
Guy Pearce didn't like the cop whom he rode around
Nobody
rode
liked
around
the
with,
movie.
Nobody liked anything about
finding him to be racist. He got more from the 1950s police training films, which featured the kind of rigid stiffness that he was seeking to bring to his character. And the script went through 7 drafts before Curtis Hanson felt confident enough to let James Elroy see it. So,
Nice.
yeah. So basically, nobody wanted to be in the movie,
Right.
and it was a lot of hard work.
And yet it's like incredibly well regarded and was well reviewed at the time.
It's a great movie, like especially if you like that crime drama kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like I said,
No.
I got home from Captain Marvel and was going to watch it, and I got about an hour into it and started dozing off. But I'm gonna finish watching it today because I love movies like this. Like I love Long Kiss Goodnight. I love what the fuck is the name of that movie? I gotta look it up.
Sorry, YouTube.
It's gonna not True Romance. It's like his second movie.
Stop yourself, Toil.
Wow, this is awful fucking video right now.
I almost fucking clicked the link again. Like, oh, it's us. Oh, shit. It's us.
As soon as I see it, I'm gonna feel like such a stupid ass. Jackie Brown. Jackie Brown is a James Elroy. Yeah, I believe. But it's that same vein of like crime drama taken to like, it's a lot of talking,
degree.
but it ends up being like really exciting
Right.
in the long run. I don't know. I love shit like this. I read a lot of books like this. I listen to a lot of podcasts like this, and I love these kind of movies. So
So the reason that I chose LA Confidential, I've been watching all these Guy Pearce movies. So Memento, we did, and then recently watched The Count of Monte Cristo, which is one of my favorite movies. You know, another period piece with Guy Pearce. And so I thought, well, let's do this one. Because again, I hadn't seen it. Like I probably saw it in like 2001 or 2, you know, a few years after it came out. But
I think wasn't it like nominated for? I mean, I'm sure we could look it up, but I think it was nominated for Best Picture,
I
and
think
so I
so.
saw it at the time.
Yeah.
And
I remember liking it when it first came out.
it's probably one of the first like just straight up crime movies that I had seen, except for Chinatown.
right, and it's very Chinatown.
Yeah.
So it's really compared to that movie a lot. Obviously, set in LA around the same time period.
Right. That movie's fucking crazy. I was like, oh, that's gross.
Next, we'll watch Chinatown.
But yeah, I loved it.
So it was interesting for me. 'Cause again, it had been probably at least 20 years since I'd seen it, and I had forgotten pretty much everything. Like I knew like Guy Pearce was in it. I knew that
Russell Crowe, yeah.
was in it, and this is kind of like I think Russell Crowe's first big role, where he was like, you know, kind of elevated to star status because it was still Gladiator was still a few years out.
He's a badass in this movie too.
He is a badass in this movie. And so I remember liking it at the time. I remember really liking Russell Crowe's character at the time when I had seen it back then, 20 years ago, but had forgotten everything else. Like I couldn't remember the basic plot or couldn't have told you anything about it. So it was interesting rewatching it. I mean, I still liked it. I didn't like it as much as I remember loving it back when it first came out.
Right.
The things I thought were interesting about it, so watching what's a period piece, and it was made in 97, 98, you know, showing the 50s. So now it's a 20-year-old movie doing the 50s. So I just thought it was interesting that the movie has
It's like a
aged,
period piece.
and it
of a
almost
period
works
piece.
for it. Where
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, it like feels more like, okay, now this feels like an old movie and it's set as an old movie.
And it feels like everything seems run down and not as like glossy as a movie would seem today, just because it was made 20 years ago.
Right.
And like you said, it kind of builds that feel in like a really weird way.
Yeah, so it almost like enhances that, feel of the film, which I thought was interesting. The cast obviously is amazing. So like everybody is like, these are top-notch actors. I mean, you get James Cromwell, who we can talk about, is like fantastic. Devito is amazing.
It's great.
Yeah, he's fantastic. Crowe is fantastic. Guy Pearce is always good, and his character. It's funny because like he didn't like his character, and like it's probably like the least likable character. The scene where he's watching through the mirror and watching them like throw Vincent's under the bus, right?
And like, we're gonna have to take away the show from you for a little while, and you see his face sink, and you see like it cuts, and you can see his reflection in the mirror, and he just has this fucking smug punch me look on his face, where you're like, oh, that fucking guy, I hate that guy. I don't know. I love the way it unfolds and unfolds and unfolds, and it's made me excited to finish watching it because I love that.
Yeah, and I think that's the strength of the movie for me, aside from the acting and the supporting performances, which are great,
Is the writing.
The writing, and then how those two characters. So it's still basically about White and Exley, and these two polar opposite people. Because White is like all like id. He's like just pure instinct, emotion driven character, and then
what's up, Marsha?
How are you?
Actually is like so calculated, and everything he does has some like political ulterior motive angle to it. And so these two characters, how they are introduced to each other, then clash, and then ultimately have to come together at the end and have some bonding. That's the cool kind of arc of the movie that I think from writing standpoint and the way that they played out, is really strong.
I love that I personally connect so much easier with White than Exley.
For sure.
Because there's no point in my life where I feel like I've ever had to be that conniving.
Are you sure?
Hello.
Hey, Joshua.
He doesn't like you. Yeah, he
back,
hates
Justin.
you. He hates you. Wow. Side note, I'm going to interject. LA Confidential was nominated for 9 Academy Awards, won 2 of them. Kim Basinger was nominated for Best Actress in a Supporting Role. Curtis Hanson and Brian Helgeland for Best Writing, Adapted Screenplay. It was nominated for Best Picture, Best Director, Best Art Direction, Best Cinematography, Best Film Editing, Best Original Dramatic Score, and Best Sound Mixing, but lost them all to Titanic. Basinger...
Makes sense.
Let's talk about how one of these movies holds up and one of these really doesn't. Like, LA Confidential is
I don't know.
clearly
Have you
a
seen
superior...
Titanic recently?
A lot of people do like Titanic.
So,
Pop culture classic.
so I think
No, please no.
Fuck you, I'm not watching that. So I think I talked about it a couple weeks ago. This is going to Titanic, not LA Confidential, sorry. Where I talked about Kevin Hart's Black History Month special that's on Netflix, which is totally hilarious if you like get a chance to watch it.
Which one?
It's called it's like Kevin Hart's Black History Month. Like, it's him teaching his kids about some of like the lesser known like heroes in like Black culture in the United States.
One guy shipped himself in a box.
Yeah, exactly. It's
I
about
forget that guy's
stuff.
name.
But so there's this scene where one of the characters, he's a slave on a riverboat, and he's standing at the prow of the ship, and he goes, "I'm the king of the world." And the master comes up behind him and goes, "Excuse me?" He goes, "I'm the slave of the world."
Wow, that's awful.
It's really, really funny, and it ends up being really cute in the long run. I don't know. So my thing with like a movie like this, or like any film noir, like Chinatown or like Jackie Brown, is that unfolding of plot is always super fascinating to me, because like in the times that I've written, I can only write like a beginning to end story, like I've never been able to like fully grasp how to write like this part goes here and this part goes here and this part goes here, and then in the end they all come together. And I love that process of like a story that like reveals itself to you over time, and that's what I mean, that's what intrigues me about this. Like, I'm hooked and ready to watch. Like, when I go home, I'm going to change back into my pajamas because fuck being awake this early. And I'm going to sit down and I'm going to finish watching it because I'm intrigued and I want to watch the rest of it. And it's really cool. So, also, I love the scene, just as the stoner in me, the scene where he does the pot bust. And he sees the stuff on the table. He's all into pocket. that made me laugh really hard.
I was not a fan of this movie. I just think it's too slow for me. I think, and I'm just not. I don't watch a ton of crime drama kind of movies. It's just not my jam. It's weird because we go to dinner theaters and stuff a lot. I actually like going to see something like that live. I'm just not a big crime guy. I don't know why.
When we talked about Murder on the Orient Express, didn't you not like that too?
I haven't watched it.
It
Wasn't me. Wasn't me.
Yeah.
The recent one? Or?
Yeah. Well, any of them.
I like
them both. I like both of them.
I like some. I mean, it's not to say I don't like crime dramas at all. It's just not normally something I usually watch. So it just wasn't. It just was slow for me. It felt old. It felt old. It felt older than it was, which is weird. Because it was right, and that's why, right. So it's just weird. I don't know. I was just not a giant fan.
I actually felt the same way, particularly like for the first half, and then maybe even 3/4 of the film, and then the last act was like really good.
See, that's where I have to get. I think because I remember liking the movie, so I had no problems going and watching it. But about halfway through, I was just falling asleep. Like it just was kind of drowning on.
Halfway through, I was falling asleep because it was like almost 2 in the morning.
Right.
So I was super engaged. I just couldn't stay awake.
It was my 2 o'clock in the morning. It was like 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
But I think
Just like passing
what
out.
you described though is that strength of that kind of plot that kind of takes a while to unravel, right?
Yeah.
And to really get a sense of where the movie is going. I think that's part of it. So it is a very deliberately paced movie.
Right.
Through the first, 2 acts, and then
Like
that last act,
It's
you're
movie
like,
theater
oh,
popcorn.
okay,
It's like intentionally
The bottom,
slow.
it's all buttery and nice.
Because like
Top,
it's
not
intentionally
really.
slow because you have to discover who this person is and discover who this person is, and like
Right.
you have the moment where Russell Crowe meets Kim Basinger's character like in the liquor store, right? And then he goes outside and like this next character is revealed, and she ends up being a corpse, but you get that there's a connection there, but you don't know what the connection is, and neither does he.
Right.
He just is kind of like putting these little pieces together, and Exley's putting these little pieces together, and then eventually it's all coming together. And I love that. Like the strength of writing in that is really cool. But if you're not down for a slow, deliberately paced movie, it would totally make sense to not enjoy it.
And none of them individually are particularly likable characters.
Yeah, smart,
right?
Yeah.
The possible exception, well, and so maybe they're likable in like eccentric ways, right? Bud White is probably the one who is most clearly set up as, okay, this is going to be like the guy you're going to.
But he also
At least for me.
just
got flaws.
beats the fuck out of people.
Right, exactly.
Like,
he's got big flaws, and
like during the
Sands,
bloody Sunday, he goes to step in and stop the fight, and then the guy just
And then
says
he ends
"fuck
up-
you" to him,
right.
and he just goes ape shit,
Exactly.
like for no reason.
and Vincent is probably likable in like sort of a eccentric way, like
But also sleazy.
but sleazy,
dirty.
right? Exactly.
Even there's that scene where the commanding officer is like, are you willing to shoot a criminal in the back if you know that he's going to get off? Like, are you willing to beat a confession out of somebody? And you're like, he's just asking. Like, and you gotta, there has to, I don't think cop culture's progressed that much further past that in a lot of ways, but I'm sure your commanding officer doesn't straight up go, will you kill a criminal if you need to?
It's one of those things that you actually wonder if the film were being released today, how they would handle like stuff like that.
Oh.
Because it was just very like black and white. Like this is the way it is.
And what's crazy when you read those James Ellroy books, the cops, like the good guy cops, that's how they are. They'll just beat a guy up.
Yeah.
Like there's one that I read called I don't think it's by the same guy, but one I read called The Good Sister, and it has to do with a private detective and all this other stuff.
Did they make that into a movie ever?
I think so.
That
yeah.
sounds like a movie I've seen at some point. But I don't remember.
But but the private detective, the cops.
Oh, I was thinking
keep
The Good
bringing
Son,
him in,
actually.
like over
Totally
and over
movie.
again to question him about these different crimes, and he's kind of intermeshing the different crimes because he's like hunting somebody, and he just kind of ends up being in the wrong place at the wrong time over and over and over again. And as the book goes on, the cops beat him progressively more and more and more, and like that's literally just how they try to get him to confess, is by punching him up. And he's been punched up by the cops so many times that he's just like, keep going. Like, I'm not going to tell you anything. It's my job to not tell you things.
Did you?
Right.
Did you describe? I know that we've done this a couple times. Did you describe the movie at the beginning? Aside from calling it a crime drama, do we know? Just for people who may not have ever watched it or anything.
It's a convoluted plot of a crime movie, so it's kind of difficult to like grasp it without like giving away a good chunk of the movie. But basically, it has to do with a regular beat cop who's white. He's a homicide detective who is trying to solve a crime and also beats up wife beaters. And a guy named Ed Exley, who is like this political beast within the police department that on one hand is trying to like make the police department better by not taking bribes and not, beating people up in interrogation rooms, but is also trying to effectively get his way ahead by being a smug prick, and how the two of them have to effectively come together to solve a crime.
It's true.
Yeah, that's probably the basics of it, but it's effectively a 1950s crime drama.
Nice,
and
okay.
It's good. I love it, so I liked it. I mean, it's not Maniac Cop.
I can't wait for Maniac Cop.
The whole thing with like the police, doing the like beating the stuff out of the suspect, and that's just something that's really like we're at this point where I
feel like we're coming back to that as a culture.
Well, but
We're coming back to it.
kind of. Well,
The police just beat you up.
I don't think it went
that's the thing,
away. I
it
think
didn't
people
go
just
away.
stopped talking about it.
But
We just didn't have YouTube for a while, and YouTube.
But I think
came
it
in.
is, it is perceived differently today a little bit. I mean, and that's why I wonder like how all that would be positioned today. Because I think most people now
Like, we think
would
of it as a
say
bad thing?
It's not okay for cops to just beat people up.
Most people,
Right.
Like,
except
that's
for
just
like
not okay.
my mother and
But,
like stepfather.
but what happens in the movie, without giving away,
They just assume everyone gets beat up as a criminal.
Like what ends up happening is that the dramatic conclusion.
Hey, they
of
have
the
Burger
movie is
King.
Exley shoots a guy in the back.
There's McDonald's.
That, as opposed to letting him get away, he shoots him in the back, which is exactly what he said he wouldn't do at the beginning of the movie. So you've got this character who ends up, compromising
His
a moral ideal
Right.
that he had set.
His eternal moral.
Even though his morals are like so loosely held.
Hey, they're still his morals, okay? Loose or not.
So,
They're loose, and he doesn't even uphold them.
but I think
Which is why they're
that's still-
loose.
It's still an issue within pop culture. And I don't think pop culture knows exactly what to make of it at this point. So, like, how do you handle this idea of, what are the lines that people who protect us have to cross?
Right.
And what do you give up when you go over that line?
It seems like the line is
modern
really-
equivalent of this movie in a lot of ways.
Training Day is
Yeah,
the
I don't
much
even think
more
they're
exciting
separated that
equivalent.
much. Training Day came out like maybe only a few years after.
Right, but like taking like
In the same context.
that same concept of like here's a good cop, here's a dirty cop, but both of them are kind of good and both of them are kind of dirty kind of thing.
Training Day was better.
You just love Denzel.
I do like Denzel. Silky smooth, buddy.
Dude, he is pretty good. I'm not gonna lie.
Isn't Eva Mendes naked in that movie too?
I don't remember.
That's not a reason to I'm just saying.
Sure it isn't.
Just look it up on Google, bro, if you want that.
Or Pornhub.
I just said it's like a caveat. You don't watch Desperado for the fucking Salma Hayek scene, but it's not wrong that it's in there.
Wait, you don't? So what do we say?
I gave it a thumbs mostly down.
Thumbs down.
3/4 down.
Thumbs
like
down.
it.
Me
You
neither.
don't like it?
I'm just in between because, like I said, I remember liking it, and then I just wasn't feeling it and fell asleep. So like you, I think I'm gonna watch the rest of it and see if that just rekindles the light.
Yeah, because
of
he
it.
rubbed one out right before that.
Yeah.
You know?
To somehow,
hard
yeah,
to
no,
say
Ava
later
Mendes.
I'm gonna give it a thumbs up because I mean I was
You want a
really
McDonald's,
enjoying it
John?
and I can't wait to finish it today.
Do you thumbs up or down, John?
What? You didn't like that movie? Yeah. You didn't like it?
He's gonna stuff you in that bathroom.
Dom hated it.
I can.
Multiple ankles.
So, I mean, I'm thumbs up too, but I will say that again, I remember really liking this movie, and now I'm more liked it, but maybe not as much.
You know what's weird is I think we're in a weird time where, like, in those kinds of times in those movies, actors were like actors. You know what I mean? Like you know, Al Pacino and all them. They were like to be an actor because at the time there wasn't fucking millions and millions of them. It was. I think it held a little bit more water, and so you get.
Still.
Well, but I'm just saying, like it's. I feel like media is so like there's tons and tons of media right now. And I just think that those kinds of actors were a little different, and they're kind of heading out in a way.
I'm gonna hitch myself to an unpopular wagon right here. A lot of those actors you're describing, I don't even think are that good at actors.
That's what I'm saying, though. But
there
they're
was
held,
less of them.
yeah, and so
Yeah.
they're held up to a very high pedestal.
Like, every time someone says Al Pacino, I'm like, I enjoy a lot of Al Pacino films, and he is a good actor, but he's always fucking Al Pacino.
See what I think.
Like, he's never not Al Pacino.
What I think he's saying, and I kind of agree with this. There's such a saturation of media,
Right.
That like Juan probably has like actors and actresses that are like his favorite actors and actresses, and they are going to be completely different than mine
Yes.
because his niche of things that he enjoys
No, that's
is very
true.
different than mine.
Lon loves The Rock.
Whereas in the 90s,
I do love The Rock.
I love The Rock. Too.
He also loves Vin Diesel.
I don't.
I don't know if
Vin
I
Diesel.
love Vin Diesel.
You do. I see it in your
We have more
face.
in common than we think, but like back in the
He loves
90s,
it.
like these, like Kim Basinger
Right.
was like everybody
Right.
loved her. Kevin Spacey was great
Right.
in every movie.
See, Kevin Spacey is a great actor.
But I'm just saying, like it was.
Fortunately,
it was
serial
way-
masturbator, but
It was
great
way
actor.
less. It was way less pinpointed. Like
Sure. I
everybody.
understand what you're
it's,
saying now.
it's like it. Like oh, sorry. It's like how everybody watched the miniseries It, and we all talked about it at school. But now that's not like a thing. Like my kids don't understand that concept.
By the way,
They-
isn't the second of those movies supposed to come out
next
eventually?
year. Yeah.
Yeah.
2020.
But
We
it's
gotta- we all gotta
it's
go watch it again.
it's
gonna be
like
like
it's
3.5
like those
hours
people were held and you couldn't. You're like, man, I wish I could be an
I heard the
actor one day.
gangbang
But
scene
now
got
you
held
could go
for
to
adults.
YouTube and just have people watch you and then somehow be famous. You know what I
Right.
mean? So it just
Little
seemed a
Tay.
lot harder. Like those people went to theaters and those people did that kind of acting and that was special. You know, and so it's hard to connect sometimes with movies like this because for me it was slower, you know, because that's how its intention was, but you're buying into the movie because of that, because these guys are supposed to be the pinnacle of
You
what
know
acting
something
is.
special is supposed
Right,
to come
right.
out of it. Yeah. I don't know. I'm getting exactly what you're saying.
I hear what you're saying
which
now.
is
I
really
jumped
weird.
to a conclusion of what you were saying that was incorrect. Mostly
Jump to
because,
conclusions for it.
yeah.
That movie's great too. That movie really
Fucking Office Space is amazing.
I can see you.
That was a better.
It jumped to.
That's a good movie too.
Dragnet's a good movie.
All right.
I've
So
seen Dragnet, actually.
next up,
I don't think so. What? Because I remember other times people have talked about Dragnet and I didn't see it.
the Dan Aykroyd one. Yeah, it's pretty funny. It's weird.
I thought it was funny.
I
like Dan
Once I
Aykroyd.
watch it, I'll probably see it.
You know what I loved about Dragnet is like the TV show totally took itself super fucking seriously, and the movie is just totally stupid.
What's up with? Okay, I know it's like off subject, but what's up with that recent development of like TV shows being developed now off movies that aren't like made to be sequential, like Shooter? You saw the movie Shooter with Mark Wahlberg, right? Where he just that's a movie that shouldn't have been more than one thing. He's like, they hired him to frame him of killing a guy.
Lethal Weapon.
And
right?
now, and Lethal Weapon, same shit.
Now there's a Lethal Weapon TV show.
They're making all kinds of these shows that are based off movies that you wouldn't think there even needed to be a part 2 of.
Well, admittedly though, there's like
Taken?
5 Lethal Weapon movies.
There's a
Hannah,
Taken
you know
TV
what?
show.
Like Hannah, that's the same
Yeah.
way. They made a TV series out of the movie Hannah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. That is kind of
Yeah,
weird.
but to be fair, Lethal Weapon is just
be
a pair
fair.
of cops, so you can just go to the
That's
next
easy.
crime.
Yeah.
So's Dragnet.
No, I know, but I'm just saying he's talking about other stuff as well.
But I mean, it's still weird to me. Like, it's just like, I don't know.
I think
I
what
hate
it is if Hollywood sees like, and it's obviously outside of Hollywood.
Money.
It's money. Right. If there's a property that can prove to make money, in the
Really?
past, people will try.
I didn't imagine Shooter made a fuck ton of money, and it's way
Well, that-
past
and that's
the time when
super
Shooter was awesome.
Before we move on, I do
Taken.
want to say I
Jesus
saw the
Christ.
preview for
Can
the
his wife
Fast
and
and the
kids stop
Furious
getting it back?
presents Hobbs and
Right, Hobbs and Shaw.
That is the first Fast and the Furious movie that I have been interested in watching since Tokyo Drift.
It looks amazing.
looks
I don't know why.
amazing.
Honestly, it's such a long side of me.
I saw the first 3 and then I got about
I'm
halfway
telling
through
you,
the fourth
The
one,
Rock,
checked them out.
fucking is Idris Elba and Jason Statham.
It looks
It's going to
amazing.
make money.
What about Elba being recast as Deadshot?
We didn't talk about that, but I thought it was cool.
All right, let's keep talking.
I like how you have
Now we're just
McDonald's and your
talking-
wife
I
wouldn't
know.
get burgers.
Okay, real quick.
My
before-
goal
Did
breakfast
they
McDonald's.
just get you new Burger King?
No, I told them not to because I can just heat my sandwiches up from this morning.
Before we move on, let's talk for just a couple seconds.
I did not realize that.
Our next pop
Deadshot.
culture classic is going to be Jaws, okay? And then after that, we're watching Maniac
Who
Cop.
chose Jaws?
What?
Who chose Jaws?
Let's see.
I think we did.
I think
Okay, because
it's
it
a
feels
show.
like one I would also choose.
No,
and
I
was
think
like,
we
did I choose
did.
2 in
It's
a row?
a show pick, and then your pick was Maniac Cop.
Yes,
and
it
then
was.
Jason, you have a pick after that. So.
You know who's not gonna fall asleep during Maniac Cop?
Me.
Anybody.
Maniac Cop, always exciting. You should pick my bloody.
Sounds
Valentine,
awful.
I'm just saying.
I don't know, dude.
I haven't seen it. You think?
You seen Maniac Cop?
I have not seen it.
Oh, it's so good. Dude, the dude that's in it, it literally can only be in Maniac.
Yeah.
Like, it's so weird.
Seen Elephant Man?
Yeah.
Real life Elephant Man.
Okay. All right.
It's a little more under control, but it's definitely a situation.
Wow.
Gotcha.
He's got like 4 of Bruce Campbell's chins. That's what
Yeah.
I'm saying.
And some of them are on his forehead. Like as a kid, they didn't make masks that properly fit that for Halloween.
It was awesome.
He just
Forehead
walks
chin.
around being himself.
That's awesome.
I can't wait to watch that
So,
movie again.
Idris Elba.
Yeah, let's
thought
go back to
We're taking a break. No?
No, I said
Oh, do we want
before
to?
we take a break,
before
let's
we-
talk about it.
You want to take a break and then just go right into that then?
Sure, we can
Sure,
do
let's
that.
do it.
All right.
Alright.
Well, say
Kill
goodbye
this.
to YouTube.
Bye,
YouTube.
YouTube.
Bye, YouTube.
We out, YouTube.
That was the most unenthused.